I'm teaching you how to lead, how to survive. And to do that, you're going to have to fight.
Hello there, Darth Christensen here. Welcome to the very first video of 2026. And today I'm going to be talking about every single Star Wars project that we're getting in this coming year, or whether it be a bunch of shows and the singular Mandalorian movie that we're getting this year. Or so I'm going to be talking about my thoughts on the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, Ahsoka season 2, the Darth Maul show, Maul Shadow Lord, and even this Vision spin-off of that I was surprisingly intrigued by. So, but before I get into that, I just wanted to kind of just like look back and reflect on what 2025 looked like for Star Wars, and to be honest, I kind of feel like it didn't really have as much cool moments as I wanted it to. I mean, it had some absolutely amazing moments. Like I got to see the Revenge of a Sith re-release, which was absolutely phenomenal, and Vision season 3 also came out this year, which was pretty good. But yeah, other than that, it wasn't really that much of an exciting year for Star Wars. Oh wait, yeah, and also apart from Celebration, because we learned about the two shows that I'm super excited for. But yeah, I think that 2026 is going to be a much more exciting year for Star Wars, because it's going to be not only going to be headed by Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, and Sam Witwer, which I think should be the three heads of Star Wars right now, but also it's going to be honoring some of George Lucas's ideas with how like the Mortis Gods are going to be continued in the next season of Ahsoka, and then Maul might be training Darth Talon in his show. But I'll get more into that later on in the video. So first, let's talk about the big elephant in the room, the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Now, I am looking forward to this movie because it's going to be the very first Star Wars film in theaters since The Rise of Skywalker in 2019. Like, it's actually crazy how long it's been since there's been a Star Wars film coming out. Now, I'm not too overly excited for Mando and Grogu mainly because as it kind of looks like one of those side quest mission episodes for The Mandalorian stretched out into a movie. But it's actually not season 4 because Jon Favreau already said that he has scripts for The Mandalorian season 4 written. So this movie is going to be its entirely own thing. So with that in mind, I'm a lot more excited for Mando and Grogu. I'm a lot more interested in Mando and Grogu to see what they're going to do with it. It seems like it's going to be an entire mission with like Din Djarin and Grogu trying to rescue Rod of the Hutt, who is Jabba's son, who was also saved in the Clone Wars movie. So this film is basically just going to have a rehash of the plot of the Clone Wars film, which I know people probably won't find that exciting, but if they do handle it right, I think I could be interested in where they're going. And then of course here's the whole AT-AT sequence where Din Djarin's just kicking the asses of a bunch of snowtroopers, and I think that scene looks awesome. Like it looks very cinematic and has a lot of Empire Strikes Back vibes. And then the thing that I'm most intrigued by is that Zeb Orrelios from Rebels is going to be showing up in this movie, and he's probably going to be helping Din out a lot. So with Zeb showing up, I also think this is the perfect opportunity for Ezra Bridger to show up, or maybe even have mentions of Thrawn and everything, because as both Ahsoka and the Mandalorian are both building towards this giant heir to the Empire level event with Thrawn being the main villain, and I feel like it would be a wasted opportunity if Mando and Grogu didn't touch on the prospect of Thrawn being a villain. And I mean, you could have Ezra show up with Zeb so he can help out Din Djarin and then warn him about Thrawn, the upcoming threat of Thrawn. But either way, hey, that will be interesting. So seeing Mando and Grogu in theaters, I think it should be a cool experience. It won't be anything mind-blowing, but it should be a fun adventure like Mando seasons 1 and 2. So with that in mind, I'm looking forward to it. Speaking of Ezra and Thrawn, now let's talk about the project that I'm super excited for, Ahsoka season 2. And if you guys know me, if you guys have been watching the channel for a long time, I absolutely love and adore Ahsoka season 1. Like I have lots of merch from Ahsoka. Okay, I'm holding Shin Hati's lightsaber. Like this show, I think, is honestly the best live action Star Wars project in a very long time. I had such a deep emotional connection to it. It had so much lore behind the Force, and it had just perfectly continued Rebels, and where we left off in season 1 with Ahsoka and Sabine being trapped on Peridea, and Thrawn being a big threat on Dathomir. There's so much potential where they can go with this. I'm super excited to learn more her lore about the Force on Peridea, considering that Balin's looking for a power related to the Mortis Gods, and Mortis is easily one of my favorite arcs from the Clone Wars, more. So it's super exciting that Dave Filoni is like continuing some of those prospects aspects in this next season. Like, I'm wondering if Balin's being seduced either by a resurrected version of the son of Mortis, or maybe all those theories about Abeloth coming into the mix are true. So that means that Ahsoka and Sabine are probably going to be looking for Balin, and they're going to be getting guidance from Anakin's Force Ghost to try to get him to stop him from like throwing the Force out of balance. It's going to be really awesome to like figure all that out. And then obviously, as a huge Anakin stan, and I'm super excited that Hayden's getting more screen time as Anakin. And I think this is a perfect opportunity to show like how Anakin, since he's the chosen one, he probably like took the place of the father of Mortis, considering that he brought balance to the Force at this point in the timeline. So with that being considered, I think that Ahsoka should take the place of the daughter, because she had as the daughter's essence in her body, meaning that she's the new avatar of the light side. And then maybe I think that Balin, or maybe even Shin, could also be the replacement for the son, considering that they're like dark side users, and they need someone to like fit that slot. But either way, the Mortis storyline is easily what I'm most excited for, because I'm a massive fan of like Jedi, Sith, Force lore. So I'm super excited to see where everything on Peridea goes. And then also the whole thing with Thrawn being the main villain on Dathomir. Dathomir sounds super exciting, because I wonder, since Thrawn's working with the Night Sisters, I wonder if he's probably going to use their magic to raise an army of zombie witches, considering that he had like a bunch of coffin-shaped things. Like, it might have a similar feel to how Dathomir looked like in Jedi Fallen Order. Like, it's going to look so fucking awesome in live action. And then I think that since Ezra's going to be a lot more hands-on in this season, like he's going to have a lot of lightsaber action, considering that there's some like behind-the-scenes footage of Ezra's actor doing some lightsaber training. I wonder if this means that he's also going to be like more directly involved with the fight. So I wonder if he's eventually going to have to like call up Luke Skywalker for help, and then and Dave can like go ahead and adapt some of the storylines from Heir to the Empire there. So Luke can still he'll be in the central. So Luke can still be a part of the Heir to the Empire storyline, and Thrawn's still the main villain. But it would be really cool if like it had its own twist on it with like some of the Rebels characters like Ezra, Ahsoka, and Sabine and everything. That would be super. That would be a super awesome way to do it. And that's why I think that Dave Filoni, he's a genius, because he's George Lucas's apprentice, and he's also taking inspiration from Legends lore. So Ahsoka season 2 has a lot. Ahsoka season 2, sounds like it's going to be awesome, because I'm continuing both the Mortis storyline, which was directly George Lucas's idea, and then also adapting Heir to the Empire.
I think a very clear line I draw for myself, though, is that Anakin's story was already told. George did that. I don't have to add anything to that. I don't have to explain anything about it. What George did is what he wanted, and it's perfect. The story I'm telling is about Ahsoka. The reason why Anakin can be in this is because he's relative to her story. But I'm very careful in what I'm doing, that I'm not, changing or adjusting anything that George did. I understand a lot of it because I work with George, and we work together. When we did the Clone Wars, it was very much the goal of saying, well, how was Anakin challenged? How does he get from where he is in 2 to 3? And I had George with me to tell that story. So I was very confident in anything I was doing, that he was there to put guardrails.
And one more thing I want to touch on is that I'm super excited to see my baby girl Shin Hati again. Like, she's one of my favorite characters. I really hope that Shin gets more development. But yeah, Ahsoka season 2. So Dave's absolutely cooking with this. I'm super, super excited for the season, bro. I just needed to come here. This sounds like peak Star Wars. Then next up, let's talk about the second thing that I'm super excited for, Maul, the Darth Maul show called Maul Shadow Lord. This is something that I could not be more hyped for, because Darth Maul is one of my personal favorite Sith Lords, and Sam Witwer is one of my favorite voice actors of all time. Like the fact that he played both Maul and Palpatine and Starkiller is just super awesome. Like, he can basically shapeshift his voice, which is fucking amazing. So I'm super excited to see what Maul was doing after he escaped Order 66 during the Siege of Mandalore, and based on the details of the show, it's going to be showing how Maul became a crime boss, and how he like built up some of his crime syndicates. So this makes me believe that we're going to see like the origins of how Maul built Crimson Dawn, which is where we see him in Solo, and this makes me think that maybe it will show how Maul ran into Kira, and how he started working with all of his Mandalorian super commandos. And that sounds very interesting. And then based on the leaked trailers, Maul is also going to be training a red Twi'lek apprentice. And while it hasn't been directly confirmed yet, I definitely believe that that this could be like a different version of Darth Talon, because it was part of George Lucas's ideas for the sequel trilogy that and he wanted Maul and Darth Talon to be the main villains of the trilogy. Like he basically wanted them to be like the next like Palpatine and Vader level villains of his version of the sequels. So I think it's a really brilliant idea that they're like resurrecting some of George's original ideas with Maul both being a crime lord and having a Twilight Sith apprentice, which just sounds absolutely insane. Like, obviously, I think that Darth Talon might have to die at some point, considering that she didn't show up at all during Rebels. So this brings me to my next theory. Since they've already shown that Maul is going to be fighting some Inquisitors, I think they should show how Maul killed an Inquisitor and took his lightsaber to create his cane saber that we see in Rebels, because the hilt looks awfully similar, or considering that there's like a curved hook thing on the emitter. So I think that Maul probably did that, and that's probably why he's feared amongst the Inquisitors, and they call him the Shadow, considering that he's a true Sith and not a Sith wannabe. And considering that Maul may or may not get the attention of the Empire, this could lead into one of the best things, like if not the best thing to ever happen in Star Wars history. If Maul were to get into a huge lightsaber fight with Darth Vader, and he loses to Vader and goes into exile on Malachor. And the reason why I say this is, like, it's not just for fanfiction beliefs. Like, I think that Vader could actually fight Maul at some point towards the end of this show. Because, as if you really think about it, Maul said in Rebels that he couldn't defeat Vader alone. So this makes me believe that Maul at some point got into a confrontation with him. And considering that Maul already... And I think that Maul already knew that Anakin became Vader, because he already foresaw the future about the Jedi Order falling and Anakin being groomed to be Palpatine's apprentice. So when he eventually does come across Vader, he's probably going to shit his pants. And the lightsaber fight between them would be phenomenal, considering that Vader at this point has already developed his new lightsaber fighting styles. But he's like way more powerful in the Force than Maul. Also, he would definitely beat him in a saber fight. So I think that Maul might get into a huge fight with Vader, but then he will lose, and he'll have to narrowly escape. And then he'll go into hiding on the Sith planet of Malachor. And then considering that he has nothing left at this point, Maul's last chance of revenge is that he's going to find the Sith holocron that will lead him to Obi-Wan Kenobi one last time, which is where we see him in Rebels. So Maul fighting Vader would be absolutely insane. Vader's easily the most powerful Sith out of all three of Palpatine's apprentices. Like, he surpassed Dooku and Maul. Also, it would be really interesting to see the dynamic. It would be really interesting to see the dynamic between the two. Seeing how Vader became a lot more powerful than Maul, but they also have a lot in common, since they both have a shared hatred for Kenobi, and they both want revenge on him. With all of that being said, I think that Maul's Shadow Lord has a lot of potential to be one of my favorite animated Star Wars projects ever made in history. This is tied with Ahsoka as my most anticipated thing next this year, because it's going to be finally showing what Maul was doing in the gap between the end of the Clone Wars and where we see him in Rebels. So we're going to see him as a crime lord trading Darth Talon, and then also he may or may not fight Vader and run into some Inquisitors. Dude, his shit sounds absolutely insane. I need to watch this right now. So Maul Shadow Lord sounds absolutely fantastic, and I'm super excited to see it. And then finally, for the next thing, for the show next year that I'm intrigued by is The Ninth Jedi, which is this episode of Star Wars Visions that's getting its own entire spin-off series. So I recently just watched Star Wars Visions with the release of the third season, and I liked it a lot. I liked it a lot. And The Ninth Jedi is one of the best episodes of the entire show. So I'm very intrigued to see where they take this character, and I would also love it if they gave other her vision stories their own spin-offs, like the Sith Ronin guy. He was awesome. I love the whole Sith dark side samurai dude who hunts other Sith. And I would love a spin-off about him. So overall, I think that 2026 sounds like it's going to be an absolute banger year for Star Wars, especially Ahsoka Season 2 and Maul Shadow Lord. Those both sound absolutely incredible, and it just sounds like the absolute thing that makes my Star Wars fanboy so pleased is because Ahsoka and Maul are easily two of my favorite characters in Star Wars, next to Anakin, and the stories that they're taking with them sound so super intriguing. So I'm super excited to see both of them. And Mandalorian and Grogu, I think, will be a fun theater experience, and we'll see if the movie actually builds up to something pretty mind blowing with the Heir to the Empire thing. And The Ninth Jedi sounds fun. The Ninth Jedi sounds fun too, and But I think that her stories from Visions should also get their own side stories too. But yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and leave a comment down below. What are you most looking forward to this year for Star Wars? And let me know, do you agree with me? Do you agree with my opinions on how excited I am for all of these? But yeah, have a great rest of your day, and may the Force be with you. Always.
Yes, the one we've been looking for. How do you know this? He knows the ways of the Force. He's been trained to use the dark side.
Are you sure?
Absolutely.